It's 8:30. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Stay tuned for modern technology.
There you go.
Abby, we're all glad you're back. Hearing no other public comments, I need a motion to approve the minutes from July 31st, August 1st, and August 2nd.
Second.
Moved by Dimmitt, second by Sandquist. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Dwayne, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, supervisors. We got some rain over the weekend. Should assist the grader operators in blending rock in with the dust that was underneath it and possibly fixing a pothole or two, maybe even a washboard area.
Question.
Yes.
So on my way to town this morning, my road grader was out and spreading what appeared to be some new gravel by the highway, but yet over by the highway, you know, they take care of that. Sometimes there's a bunch of potholes. So will they be out and fix that? Because it's kind of like, it's really nice after 25 feet, but 25 feet to the highway is solid potholes.
Yeah, that's the area where it's not safe for us to be.
I know.
Generally, we try and coordinate that with the DOT so we get some traffic control up there. The last time we called them, they just took care of it. So I will delete.
Yeah, please.
And which road was that?
That was Quint's, but they all need it probably. They should check them if they're out there.
Alrighty, we have our signed and back to the railroad for the Quince crossing. So they will get that coordinated. It's a little less than what we thought because they're only going to do a 24-foot paved crossing instead of 30, which is what we budgeted for. So we're saving $4,000. $4,000.
Sure.
So we've got a hole in the bridge deck on 136, which up by Polishville. We've got that patched with steel plate for right now, rock back over it. And that is on the schedule, I think, for next year for a 20-tank car replacement. We can bump that up or not, but we're going to go out and do some engineering survey to see if, make sure that we've got the elevations right so that we don't flood the house that is upstream from it. Using the big valley washing.
Picked up yesterday.
And
I don't know exactly how much they got, but it was significant.
I think somebody told me 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Or that's Cahokia.
Now Steve Smith on the radio is saying up to 11.
That's plenty of rain.
So who knows?
It's been nice if
Who
we
knows?
had that over the last 2 months
Yeah,
instead of over the last 3 days.
So it's probably safe to say we got some.
Yeah. We have the bridge being removed on Iris. The crew is working on getting the steel tied for the new abutments for that. Next week, I will have a couple of grant applications for you guys to approve. Have formal resolutions on.
We having a meeting next week?
Yeah, on Tuesday. It's my birthday on Monday,
I know.
and we're not going to have a meeting.
Okay.
So
Well, I
I'd
know
like
you
to
said we were
thank
gonna have one on
everybody for
Monday,
that.
but I didn't know Tuesday. So
That's really all I have.
So I got a couple questions. Well, actually, go ahead.
Oh, and then last week I was at the IDOT's Title VI refresher and update for civil rights requirements for the recipients of federal funds. And I don't believe at the start of the year, when we changed chairman of the board, that we had Susie formally designated as the chair for Title VI. And because the chair changes, then the Title VI administrator also needs to be
I thought you were our person.
I am, but the chair changed, so
So
it
every
needs,
year we have
every
to
year
change
there,
it.
it needs to be redone. So I'll have that for you next week as well.
Okay.
Then the other question that came up there is if somebody comes into the courthouse and does not speak English and needs services from the county, how do we handle that? Because we need a plan for that as well.
You have to do that.
I would suspect the treasurer would be
And
the person who would have the most interaction with non-English speaking. But we need to look into that.
sounds like an agenda item for department of need.
Not specifically for my end of the Title VI, but I think other people in the county get federal grants as well. So we need to have that in place. And I need to have that as nice, and part of my paperwork next time
If somebody
they come
doesn't
through
speak
to.
English.
I have some ideas that I can, that I'll.
There are translation services available by phone. I don't know. I
But
can
we
look
don't
into
have a
that.
formal policy for it.
Yeah, got it. Mhm.
Mark never replied to my email. Keep pestering him. And that. That's everything else.
So I had a constituent ask about Brookville, what the time frame is on it for backward voters. I'm sorry.
Having.
What map are you on there?
Old school.
Same one Billy runs with.
Yeah.
So I stopped last week and talked to Pelling again. And they anticipate being here next week. They were hoping, Manassas was hoping to mobilize the end of this week, but I'm not gonna hold my breath on that. If they're here, if they are moving into the county, I'm not gonna be happy. So that being the case, Pelling will be moving a grade crew in here next week as well.
Will that be on that lake too?
The grade crew, we've got Brookville Road and 146. Okay, will be the two roads that they'll be working on the grader. Prior to chip seal. So hopefully next week we'll get started on that.
And that does include Nutmeg as well.
Well, Nutmeg's what Manassas needs to move in for the cement stabilization. Nutmeg and large. So we're hoping that is in fact the case.
You know, I know you got a lot of calls about needing a new Brookfield Road.
No, actually not. They pester you guys, they leave me alone. They know I have no control. It's all on you.
You're funny.
I have to say the public has been very supportive. They're very happy when I do get calls on it. You know, people are curious. They want to know. We give them the best answers that we have, and for much of this year, that answer's been, gosh, I don't know. You know, or what they had told us. So they were expecting to see something in June and then July, and now it's August. So I can anticipate, I can see why some people would be a little bit less than pleased.
Thank you for that. Next item on the agenda is discuss and consider resolution for a wage increase.
Susie, can I go back for just a second? I know you
To
have
what?
absolutely, well, not this one. I know you have absolutely no control over this, but I was just thinking about, I guess it won't be as big a deal as if we were doing 110, but the school starting up on the 23rd of August and bus traffic and so on and so forth picking up. I'm assuming that they can get those roads done pretty quickly once they get here.
A correction, is it the 20, I thought it was the 28th of August.
That's Fairfield.
Okay, maybe you're right. I was thinking the 23rd, but that's okay.
It was on a meeting this morning, 28.
Okay.
Just wanted to be clear for those listening, so they don't send their kids to school on the 23rd.
We are not experts on when school starts.
She said the 23rd for Pekin.
So let me see, where was I when we had it back
Before you
up?
were so rudely interrupted.
Wage increase.
Pardon me?
Secondary.
I know. So this is a resolution for, I think, Mr. That's,
Yes.
where's he at in the step process? Just curious.
His step is, he's at the top on his step. This is his 10 year,
Oh, my goodness.
possibly. So this would be his longevity, I believe.
Okay. So the resolution reads as follows. Be it resolved by the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors that the following wage rate and classification for Secretary of the Department full-time employees shown below be effective August the 16th of 2023. This is for Ryan Metz. All those in favor?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Motion by Sandquist,
Second.
second by Dimmitt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is the Safety Committee report from the Safety Committee. And we are lucky enough to have the chair of that committee here.
Yeah, so let you know what we discussed at our most recent meeting. They occur every month. The main topic of conversation was the safety manual and specifically including pre-employment screening in that safety manual. So a few months ago, you signed a contract with JCHC to provide pre-employment screening. And that contract is not limited to the ambulance, but I think that was like the impetus for that contract. So I think, and Curtis Smith was there from the hospital at our safety committee meeting to discuss what it would look like to provide pre-employment screening for all departments. Obviously, it would be tailored based on job description. So that's something that we're looking into, and specifically getting the job descriptions and then determining what pre-employment screening would be required for based on job description. That was pretty much it. We're also continuing to work on a safety manual, as I mentioned, to include some checklists for bomb threats and how to respond in certain emergency situations for county employees.
On those pre-employment physicals, do they have a flat rate to charge us, or is it like per, because obviously an office worker may be different than a road, secondary roads, as far as the in-depth of the physical?
So part of that contract that you signed, and I don't have the date of that, is it included a fee
It had all that
schedule,
in there.
right? So
Okay.
based on what is being required, then, you know, that dictates the fee.
So you're saying that you look at the job description and see what's required of them.
Right, because it may not be necessary to do a back
Right.
assessment if you're mainly going to be doing
Like if you're
administrative
Abby,
work,
just sit, she sits around. So
for example, yeah. Mhm. So as I mentioned, the contract isn't limited, so I don't think that you would have to sign anything else, but we might just expand it to include some appendices, including job descriptions and then the screening procedures that would go along with those. And the reason why we have the safety committee meeting, just to refresh your memory, and there's a member from each department present, is to, to help with our insurance, make sure that we have the policies in place that will actually have a positive impact on our insurance. And the
Sure.
pre-employment screening goes along with that, because if you can determine, first of all, that somebody is able to do the job that they're being hired for, but then also just knowing ahead of time if there are any pre-existing conditions that could so later on down the road be an issue.
Thank you for the report. It was very, very good and timely. I think Brian, meet with the ambulance director.
Good morning.
Right.
Hope everybody had a good weekend. Currently, we have interviewed 7 EMTs. We interviewed 2 paramedics, interviewed 1 on Saturday at 11 o'clock. Today, I have interview of one EMT and one paramedic at 10 and 1 p.m. Currently, we're still working with the A and B billing for the onboarding process. That's continuous. We're continuing to get information regarding the marriage of them and Image together. That's a process when you got to get a whole lot of information from the various entities that they require. So continuing to do that. Met with the pharmacy last week. We're continuing to get together and adopt on how we're going to keep the drugs and how we're going to exchange them and what needs to take place, because we all want everything decent and in order, and having their legal team look at that too and making sure that everything's on the up and up. We're continuing to work with the protocols. Those are almost done. This will be uploaded to Jacob Dodds this week. One of the requirements that he was looking for when we met with him last week were the ICAP information. I did have that. I uploaded that, and that's crossed out. That is completed and done. Met with Shelley. I want to see what her capabilities are and what we can do as far as CE hours for our group. And therefore, it just builds a close relationship with the hospital. And she's giving me that schedule. We can identify the gaps of what she can and cannot do. Other than that, we're just moving right along with interviews and advertisements and things like that. So
I know, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Last week, another department head indicated to me that there was a 401k.
there's,
And I'm just wondering, we thought that was somebody who was, maybe care people were doing that.
well,
But it was kind of confusing because
Yes,
we don't
ma'am.
have that.
no, agreed. What's happening on the Indeed is, I believe, is where they seen it, and I looked it up too, and it has what is it? Employers that offers all of a certain thing within the
menus,
area.
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So what I have done is I've gone back in there because I don't want there to be any confusion as I put new ambulance service in Jefferson County.
Mhm.
Hopefully that word new will distinguish us between what they're doing and what we have in place. But I contacted Indeed, and that's basically a plethora of information they put on the job descriptions saying
Mhm.
benefits offered in this area. So from
Okay.
different companies. So
Okay, that makes it a lot clearer.
and I did explain that it is confusing because being county, we don't offer a 401k. You know, maybe
Yeah,
our
not in this university.
correct. Now we do offer IPERS, which is I think a lot better than 401k with the percentage rate, but I do have 3 invoices that are coming out of the funds that I need you to look at. All right. One's image trend, one was for the ECIOs, and one was for voucher. So I apologize. I had messed up on the first line when I scribbled it out. So, but
What's that middle one that you mentioned? What is it?
sorry, which one?
The EIE,
The
Yeah, what is
The ECIOs are for people that you can't get an IV. And what that is that
So it's a piece of equipment.
yes, ma'am. It is. You drill into the bone and you're able to start. It's great for pediatrics and other individuals. So
Oh, yeah.
Excuse
Real
me,
good.
any update on the striker or any of that?
I do not yet. I need to get with Timothy today, this morning. Friday, I tried to reach out to him, and of course, he was.
I got an email from Brent, the hospital. Sent the invoice and sent the contract, which you already had. So I emailed him back. That's what I was doing this morning. and indicated to him that I see the invoice, but the invoice doesn't indicate that it's been paid. Brent
Right.
indicated that it had been paid, but it's just an invoice. And I also mentioned to him that on the invoice, they charge you tax. You pay that tax. And I said, I would like to see a check number or some indication, because our conversation, I should say Brian's conversation with Stryker,
Yeah.
at least at one point, they couldn't find any reference to having it, although you indicated, or they had told you that they had actually performed an inspection. But I don't know whether that, I don't dispute that they performed an inspection. The question is, did they charge for that inspection, or was it under a contract that nobody can find? So, but Brent from the hospital did respond to your request.
Okay.
So to back up to talk what we were discussing, what we were talking about. We've got a bill from Boundtree Medical, $186.73. We've got a bill from Image Transfer,
That's correct. That's for the
$10,402.
entire year.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we've got
That's for,
Teleflex LLC.
that's for the EIOs, or the IOs. You got me saying EIOs, but
Pay no attention to him.
IOs.
Just to,
And that last bill was for $4,881.68.
And that equipment has come in. The IOs.
So we probably better pay it.
That would be a very good, yes.
so just a clarification, this Boundtree one
Yes,
is 186.73.
correct.
It looks more like an operational expense than a one-time charge.
Okay. Click.
I mean,
You see that?
We
Just to
usually
get
chime in, but-
clarification.
our intent is ARPA's for like the one-time major expenses, and it
Correct.
looks to me more like a supply operational.
This is for our peat bags that we were looking at, and with it being the 186, if I can get some guidance with that, like you said, the ARPA is used for major expenses. Can we just use this as a regular one then?
Yeah, it seems to me like that's operational, because you'll need to get more pizza bags at some point, right?
Well,
Whereas these are upfront, one time, like, we need this system to operate,
Yes,
to
ma'am. So,
provide the service. That's what these are, and
Okay.
that's the intent of the ARPA, is one time, for the most part, like software,
right, okay, so
licensing fees, those kinds of
what
things
is
that are one-time
the,
deals.
what would be the bar, if you will, to where ARPA, what funds,
I guess
what
we talk
amount?
about it.
Okay, no, that's fair.
I mean, because,
Are those here already?
These,
Yeah.
no, they're on their way. And would you rather? My thought is that we don't pay for things that aren't here. So I will wait
Right.
until these
Okay.
come,
Yeah.
and then we will not include the 186 for them.
These are very good questions.
So I guess the question, and now that I'm thoroughly confused, which is easy to is this a one-time expense, or is this an ongoing, like all other supplies? It's an ongoing, I mean, striker costs are in theory a one-time expense.
That is correct.
But supplies, is this considered a supply, or is this a physical bag that you put supplies into?
This is a physical bag you put supplies in. The bag would be a one-time expense.
So that was the clarification.
And I would say that initially this, of course, getting all the supplies in, it's a much greater expense than it would be for maintenance. These EZIOs, basically, they're a one-time expense.
But I agree with your assessment, Susie's assessment, that we don't pay for something we don't have
No,
at this point. I'm not saying that it won't get here, but I think
that's part of the verifying of what's come in. I'll speak with Tim, and get verification and that.
do they have a ship date on that or anything?
Well, supposedly they've been shipped,
Okay.
but we all know about, sometimes they don't take the most direct route.
Could be a rain delay.
Well, yeah.
They delayed the race. Why not?
Brian, thanks for
Right.
bringing that to our attention.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, good
It's
discussion.
great to know what's going on.
No, absolutely.
So
But
these two we have, or we're using, or we have.
yeah, we have the
capability?
image trend and the EZIOs are in. Image trend's just waiting for their payment, of course. But if I may, before, is there a bar of which we need to discuss? Okay, say it's $4,000. Does that trigger the ARPA?
That's a good question.
I think we just have discussion on it. You know, it's kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know, it seems like over time, the bags, you know, obviously it's a new service, so that
Right.
could go either way. It's just worth some dialogue.
Okay.
Because what's the expected life till you have to replace those?
Well, and that's a good question. I think it depends on, how it's being used and whether or not it's
Yeah.
with weather, and if somebody, God forbid, if they spill something on it, or something like that. But my goal is that, you take care of your equipment, it lasts forever. I don't like to buy anything twice.
Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We like
Yes.
to be aware of what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
thank
can
you.
say that this ARPA thing is a work in progress.
Yeah,
We've not entered this type of thing before,
Right.
so bear with us.
No, absolutely. It's a learning curve
Okay.
for all of us. So,
it's just worth some discussion and appreciate.
Mhm.
yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
But these certainly would meet. Just to clarify an image trend,
Sure.
so like Continuum, Elite Field add-on, Slate, those are all like the extra modules to help with the quality improvement, is that correct?
That is correct. Right. The free version is the state version is the Image Trend Elite. And that's free statewide. And that goes for what Dodge discussed as far as tracking for trauma, for specific things that happen in the state. So that's what those additional models will help us improve what's going on, what we're doing. Things like that.
So I think we're to the all important committee meetings, committee reports. I want to back up for a second.
Oh, sure.
Let's talk about your interview on KTVO. I'm so glad they contacted you.
I was trying to look for that and I couldn't find it. I heard about it, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I reached out to Maddie, I believe was her name.
Mhm.
And I said, Maddie, can you send me a snippet so I can send to my kids and say, what?
I went about the easy way. I called somebody else from 10 minutes to watch it and tell me what happened.
It wasn't good.
She said it was.
Oh, okay. Well,
So I'm not sure, well, Brian, that the 10,000 8x10 glossies fall under ARPA funds.
well,
Okay, just say.
understood.
Lost my train of thought. This is something you said. I thought, I know you'd ask all three supervisors to be there. We
Yes.
cannot all be there.
I understand.
Okay.
I just wanted to make everybody aware of what
Sure,
was going on.
sure.
And that's why I had reached out to you to gain your permission for doing it before I said yes to anything.
I'm sure you represent us well.
Yes, I was here. Lee was here. He gave an interview and there was a little ticker down there that Jefferson County Ambulance has for 55 years. That's all I saw.
There was a print version or a text version on the website, but I never saw a video.
But I'm glad you brought that. KTVO is coming out again on Thursday to do see how they can help us advertise, if you will, which I think is wonderful. Help get the word out about paramedics and EMTs because they weren't really aware that there's a lack of paramedics around.
Interesting.
So I think that any advertisement is good advertisement, and any help would be fantastic, because out the 99 counties, I want to be the best.
Thank you.
Yes.
So we're, like I said, Jerry, committee report.
Well, I have to look, but Troy, obviously, I screwed up. But I thought it, since he was
Write
here,
that down.
if he had any updates.
And Senator Dickey's online.
Okay, okay. Troy, you want to? Sure. I had removed it from the agenda. We were ultimately going to talk about the DCAT thing. But other than Senator Dickey, I hadn't heard back from anybody, and I must have missed yours. But since Senator Dickey's online and you're here, can you give us any update regarding the issue here is, and help me clarify this. At one point, the powers to be above us indicated they wanted basically for you to claw back funds that had been appropriated through the juvenile court services to DCAT. Now that has since rectified itself for this current fiscal year that we're in, but we don't know where we're going next year.
So the most recent that I received was from Director of Juvenile Court Services, Chad Jensen. He's based in Des Moines. So essentially, he's one of my two bosses. He oversees juvenile court services for the state. He had a meeting with Director Garcia from HHS, I believe it was last Tuesday. Still kind of at a standstill. It sounds like they're, the way the email read was they're going to flag contracts that are funded with fiscal 24-year money. Don't know what that means yet at this point. So we're still kind of in a really big standstill.
Just for everybody that's online, why don't you give us a brief summary of all the services these funds provide?
Oh, sure. So for juvenile court services for the 8th district, it provides our online classes, which we use for our diversion courses. It allows us to pay the fee for the kids that can't afford to take the class. It also covers our FFT, which is functional family therapy. It's a very intense service where the provider actually comes to the home and provides the service, which obviously for many of our families is a very huge benefit in that they don't have to travel anywhere. So they meet them in their own space. Also, we are hoping to put out a bid for a program called On the Way Home, which is an aftercare program. So for every child that has been removed from parents' homes and gone to what is a residential treatment facility, they will immediately start working with those kids as soon as they go to the residential treatment facility. So they make that family connection. They work with them and learn about the program that they're in so that when they return home, it's just not returning to the community that hasn't been working on all the changes. They work with the family. They would be our first connection if a crisis happens with that family. So we would call that person instead of calling law enforcement. They're trained in dealing with crisis situations. So we are one of 2 districts in the state that doesn't have this program. So fingers crossed that we are going to be able to move forward with that because it has seen very good results across the state. So those are really the 3 major programs that we use it for, but community service restitution program, where kids do community service work, and then restitution is paid directly to the clerk of court's office to pay down any fines, restitution that the kids owe. So trying to make community victims whole. You bet.
So just so I'm clear, and those that actually have control sometimes of the purse strings, if this money is clawed back, even in this fiscal year, so it sounds like maybe we're not actually a slam dunk yet for this fiscal year. How, I mean, it's kind of a stupid question to ask, how's that going to impact our operations, we know it's going to impact us significantly. But what happens in your estimation if we're required to pull that back, or if you're required to pull that back?
Sure. So the tremendous benefit of DCATs is they have what's called carry forward. So the funds can go to the DCAT board, which is a large conglomeration of a number of providers throughout the communities. So our DCAT area includes Washington, Jefferson, Van Buren, and Keokuk County. So there are members and different organizations from each of those counties that participate in the DCAT board, and it's used to make these decisions on how to move forward and what services to provide. So the benefit with that carry forward money is we do have money from previous years that still have years to spend. So that helps us. We've probably got for certain programs, except On the Way Home, because that's a brand new one. That would be one that would really be difficult, because if they hold back on that, then we wouldn't even be able to move forward with it. So most of our funds and most of our programs are probably pretty good for, just to be safe, I would say, through most of 24, maybe some a little into 25 because of that carry forward money. But if they put a hold on this 24 and don't allow us to move forward, the On the Way Home program is probably not going to even have a chance to get started in our district. And then when those contracts do expire or the funds run out, and honestly, it's an unknown. We don't really know, other than we're probably going to be without those services for a period of time until we can then try to, through juvenile court services, we've taken over a big portion of our own finances this year, that we can put them out for bid ourselves. But the problem with doing RFPs, you're looking at anywhere from 3 on the short side to up to 5 months before they're out. We don't have carry forward money, so we would not get that money spent or even have the ability to spend that money in a year's time.
Have they indicated, whoever they are, the powers to be, that if they pull this money back, what they intend to do with it?
No. And again, that's part of where those conversations between director with HHS and juvenile court services is, been at a stalemate for a period of time. We don't know what's going to happen.
Well, all of these programs are designed to, that's what we're looking for. I don't know if preventative is the right word. but-
Prevention, getting people back on the right track if they made a mistake, right?
Well, absolutely. And in the long run, potentially, and I don't think it's an overstatement to say that it potentially can save lives, both lives of the individuals that you're treating, and obviously potentially other people if they fall through the cracks, so to speak. And not necessarily that money is the most important quotient, but we know that it takes money to fund these things. And we know, collectively, all of us know how much money was spent by the county for a number of years, about $11,000 a month to house a couple of juveniles. That the state didn't step up, Senator Dickey. Nobody stepped up except the county to fund those things. And so,
Even though the state's supposed to fund, I believe, half of it.
yeah, well, good luck on that. So my point simply is that since Senator Dickey is listening, that I do think that the legislators have a role in this and a responsibility to not just turn this over to administrative authorities and let them run amok without some type of accountability. Because it's easy to claw money back, and we don't have any control over that. The administrative authority does. But if they don't have to explain their actions or why they're doing what they're doing or where these funds are going to go, the legislature needs to be involved in that process. I'll get off my soapbox. And I don't know if Senator Dickey would like to say anything or not. Certainly welcome to.
Lee, you hear me there?
Yeah, we can
Yes.
hear you.
Okay, thank you. I was having problems with my mic earlier. So, yeah, you brought that up to me in the last couple of years, Lee, and I brought that up as well. Unfortunately, I don't serve on the committees that really address this, human health and services and judiciary, but I have brought that up to their attention and I'll continue to do so. Whether there's any change moving forward, it's, we'll just continue to bring the issue up.
I mean, it's always said, I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate you coming.
Oh, yeah, not a
Yeah,
problem.
thank you.
No, that's fine. And I'm happy to give updates at any time. I can email, if things
Yes.
change, we're hoping we hear something a little more definite soon. But
Well, Tammy would have been here just so the world knows, but I told Tammy that I was pulling it off the agenda because for some reason, or another, I discombobulated things. But I'm grateful that you're here. I'm
No
grateful
problem.
that Senator Dickey was on, and we'll stay on this to see what we can do.
Sure, sounds great.
All right.
Provide an update anytime.
Thank you, Troy.
Thank you. Yeah,
Troy, thank you.
you bet.
Okay, I've got a couple updates. The community emergency preparedness training was Thursday, and that was very helpful. And I put on the agenda for the 21st through the Mental Health Governance Board. We're starting the mobile crisis service. It's been difficult to get going in our region because of the lack of providers. We tried 2 or 3 years ago, and then we didn't have a provider. The one we had didn't pan out. So now we have one. And so their person's coming to say what that will do, how we contact it, how we use it. But it's an alternative and to complement law enforcement. So it'd be nice if somebody from the sheriff's office could be here on the 21st also. And I told her to come just around 9 o'clock because she'll be, so she wouldn't have to be here at 3:00. But also opioid funds reached out to Kitty Bogle from CETA, and she pointed me in the direction of somebody to contact. I asked her to identify gaps in the system because that training I went to said identify gaps or else do one thing really well. So I thought, well, let's figure out what's currently going on. CETA is probably the most likely. And when ACT gets going again, I've asked them 2 or 3 times, but hopefully if we keep going back, we'll get some input. And so the gal I need to talk to is gone till August 16th. And I guess that's pretty much it.
So if I can go back real quick, Suzie, it's not technically a committee report on one level, but I'm on the McElhenney House Foundation Board.
It's okay.
And funding is always an issue. The board does a tremendous job of, we have many endowment funds and the interest or that we receive off that is how we maintain the property and stuff. Currently, we're needing to put a roof on the building, which we will get that done. But I also wanted to point out that the Women's Club, their insurance and stuff is whatnot has gone up. And so we're trying to get creative, but I just kind of wanted the world to know that the Women's Club could use funding. I gave them some information on some grant opportunities as well as there is a houses that stuff that are on the historical rolls and whatnot. So I've given them some information on how to get in contact with those folks and funds. So I just want everybody to know that if they have an extra 25 cents or whatever in their pocket, feel free to give it to the Women's Club. I'm sure that they would appreciate it. And then you and I attended the active shooter. Was very, very well attended. Lots of community stakeholders and stuff were involved. Very well put together. And the hospital, Chris Hestel, obviously, and Brett Farrell and Walt Jackson from Henry County were there. But we had nursing homes represented, the Sheriff's Department, Police Department, Public Health, Board of Supervisors, it was, Joe Ledger was there. It was, I think, very well done, very informative, and we'll move to the third phase in November. So Joe, what did you think?
It was very informative, yes. It's something that needs to be addressed.
So I just wanted to bring that up, and I believe it's November 14th, but we don't have a time yet. And they're going to do an after action report, which we probably will all get a copy of that one day.
And the one thing I learned, especially in our county, we can text 911 if we're not able to call. And I think that's an important message for people to know, because not every county has that capability. It depends on the software they have. But if somebody was in a situation where they can only text and not call, it's doable.
So actually, that brings up a good point. I don't know how many of you got the call over the weekend
I
about the
got it.
tornado sirens. So let the world know, and I would reach out either to the law center or to Brett Farrell if you want to get on that notification so that
There's
when
an
it
app for
goes off,
that.
okay, when it goes off, you'll get a text and a phone call. And they'll also text and phone call you when it's a test. So that, you know, that is available. Oh, one of the things that was discussed in the active shooter was the panic buttons. I did find my panic button. Heretofore, I didn't know where it was at, but I did find it.
Yep.
Which is good. Just a real brief, Susie, give me just a second here. The first time that we tested the panic buttons, I was actually at Hy-Vee. I had just pulled into the parking lot and had gotten out of my car and was walking into Hy-Vee when it went off on my phone. And I looked at it, and it was an active shooter at the public health office. Unbeknownst to me, huh?
Training.
Well, yes, but unbeknownst to me that it was, so I got my happy little butt back in the car and went 100 miles an hour up here to the public health nurse office and hopped out of the cars, and I'm running towards the building. I'm thinking to myself, just what is it you think you're going to do when you get in there? But I went in anyway, and there stood Chris and there stood Ray, and they're having this conversation. I'm going, what is it with you people? And it finally dawned on me that, hey, it was a test, but it worked, just so you know. So get it on your phone, and then you'll know. There may be some of us, you don't want to have it on our phones, but okay, Susie, it's all yours.
So
So anyway, I had it, not just kidding.
I could throw some.
I know you could.
So I had a security meeting a certain noon hour last week with, I believe, the sheriff's department were there. Myron was running the thing. Steve Lindy was there. Ray was there. And we essentially were just talking about courthouse security. So it seems like everybody is talking about security. It is too bad. Well, first off, we're going to have another meeting in November. They're probably going to ask somebody from each department to show up. So
Probably ought to put your initials on that too, next to the dates.
anyway, just an FYI. You know, I checked into the ambulance thing you said was unlocked that Sunday morning.
Oh, Saturday morning.
It was a Saturday morning. Boy, Steve got his hair up on his thing because he said there should nobody have keys to be able to get in there. And he's going to talk to all the contractors about lock the damn.
Well, I think it was just, the back door doesn't.
Yeah, I know.
Pull it shut. And the contractors, whoever was working inside.
Yeah, yeah.
And I get it, you know, they lock that bar down so they don't have to, you know, they can just go in. and out.
Right, I know. And I think the comment was made that this is a farming area. Close the damn door so the animals don't get out or in.
Yeah,
So
my mom
we
was
just,
always fond of saying, it's like closing the barn door after the horse is gone.
that's right.
Not that we ever. had
So
horses.
know this, he's really watching now. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's all I have to talk about. So need to look at the claims.
Okay, so this Boundary Medical, that's gonna be all the supplies they ordered, right?
Yeah, I think so. Right, Brian?
Ma'am.
We,
34,000 for Boundary Medical, that's the supplies they
That's
ordered.
correct.
We approved that earlier. And they're here.
That's correct.
do you need to
That
sign
has
that
been-
for Abby?
That has been verified.
I'm giving it to your system. Brian, have you extended offers to any folks?
No.
Like,
What I tell people is it's a conditional upon meeting certain criteria.
sure, sure,
Nothing's guaranteed. It's up to the individual on
yeah,
passing the protocol tests, the skills tests, background, your non-DOT, being a provider, doing the functionality tests, and then I think we're going to expand, I believe, on that functionality test, just to make sure that, if somebody has an old injury, we need to get that identified so that they don't come back, oh, I should well, yeah,
that's very smart. You need to document it because
absolutely, CYA, I believe. But we had discussed that. I talked with Stacy Griffin about doing that as well. And I believe we talked about that at the safety meeting as well. So we're continuing the dialogue.
Mhm.
And the hope is to get that in place prior to,
Correct.
everything moving forward. But no, I tell everybody that comes in an interview that here's what we're looking at, but you'll get conditional. That's based on you passing everything and meeting the bar. Until then, you would get an offer. Sure. And be on letterhead and everything will be
Sure.
nice and decent, but nothing's guaranteed. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Anybody want to talk about anything for the good of the order while we're looking over the bills?
Christian had done it. Or was that you're saying that she adopted? Or do we know?
We don't know.
Okay,
It's like who came first, the chicken or the egg?
that's right. Yeah,
There's always the barking in, right?
well, yeah. Because I figured the chicken couldn't cross the road till it became a chicken, so I don't.
No, I know the egg could roll over across it.
Well, that's true. So shall we want to make sure we read the amount.
Yes, we do. Tomorrow, we're going to have little snippets with each department that hasn't already done this, so we can see what you're up to. You've already done yours.
Yes.
Steve Wimby's already done his. Chris Estel has already done hers.
Just for clarification, Abby, do you know secondary roads is in this one?
Yes.
I might add, I was at the, senior center, now it's the community center on Tuesday night for their appreciation to folks that have used the center and stuff, or anybody that wanted to stop by. It's very nice. That center has grown tremendously. It's managed by some good folks. And it's a great thing our community can do. I would entertain a motion to approve the bills.
I'll make a motion to approve $138,026.83.
Second.
Motion a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is Dwayne's personal favorite. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you,
You're
everybody.
adjourned. Thanks very much.